Bonsoir les amis, this is Llyane Stanfield, and today I would like to ask you this question. How many words do you need to learn, or do you think that you need to learn in order to become bilingual this year? So there are a couple of things that are very controversial in what I just said. First would be the concept of bilingualism. So what does it mean to be bilingual? And there are different definitions out there, and the most traditional one is that someone who's bilingual uses a second language the same way that they would use their mother tongue. And to me, that is a little exclusive and elitist, I think, because I believe that it's very hard to actually get to the point to use a second language as your mother tongue. I'm a living proof. I have been speaking English for a living for 23 years, and I'm still learning it. Definitely don't speak it as my mother tongue. So that is probably something like, you know, those teachers who say that only God can get 100% and the students can get from 90% and lower, right? So I'm not a fan of that idea. Other people consider that bilingualism is mastering a second language. And that too is a little bit exclusive because there are very few people who do that. For me, bilingual means as soon as you can manage to make conversation back and forth, you actually manage a second language. So speaking a second language at whichever level, but speaking it, not knowing it, speaking it, that makes you a bilingual person. So that is more inclusive, that gives you hope, and not just that gives you hope, but it's very motivating, as in if you consider yourself bilingual already, you want to improve it, you see the light at the end of the tunnel. But if you consider that bilingual is something unattainable, then it's very hard to get motivated and actually do something about it. So that's my first idea. And the second idea, the vocabulary. Most people, especially people whose mother tongue is English, consider that in order to really speak some language, you need a lot of words. And that's because the English vocabulary is very specific. The words in English are very, very specific. If I say stray or puppy, I know exactly what kind of dog I'm talking about. In French, it's not like that. In French, we explain a little more. It's much more fluid. It's much more loose. It's a looser kind of concept of the vocabulary, of the meaning itself, right? So, for instance, in English, if I want to change the context, and it's kind of the same thing, you know, kind of the same idea, but in a different context, I'm going to have a different word for it. Not in French. Yes, we do have words for other contexts, yes, but you'll often see that the words in French have a nugget, which is the actual core meaning of a word, and you'll find it in many, many contexts if you really look at it that way, if you see it. So that is the reason why I'm saying that you really don't need a lot of words to become bilingual this year. And so if you listened or if you watched the videos about the New Year's resolution that I had this year, then you'll see that if you put, you know, all things together, all the pieces of the puzzle, then you're going to see how actually you should go about your New Year's resolution to become bilingual this year. It is possible, but you have to adjust a little bit your ideas about what's bilingual, how long time do I have to spend on, and everything that we talked about since the 1st of January. So that's what I have for you for today. Oh no, I want to give you an example, and please search on Google. There's a French poet who uses very, very simple language. His name is Jacques Prévert, and 2 graders, 3 graders, 4 graders, they are learning his poems because he's using very, very simple words, and they understand something from those. They do, and it's really very, they're awesome, beautiful poems. But if you read those poems, you'll see that there's nothing for children there, really. I mean, not that there is a, prohibited for children, but is very much for adults, very sophisticated, very layered, and very subtle. And so that is an example that I always give to everybody who's striving for more vocabulary. You should have him as a role model. I mean, speak with as simple words as possible. You can create a diamond, pearl of language. Just using simple vocabulary. You really don't need a large vocabulary to become bilingual this year. So that's all I had for you for today. Stay on your game and don't ever give up on your dream to become bilingual. Learn to speak Parisian French and break the language barrier. Merci beaucoup et à demain. Au revoir.